from Internet Society, and with me we have this esteemed panel of colleagues from Philippines, from Japan,
Recording stopped.
and from Africa as well. So let's give ourselves kind of few more seconds or perhaps a minute. See, we have people still coming in, and then we can start the webinar.
Recording in progress.
By the way, this webinar is being recorded and is also being live streamed our YouTube and live stream channel. So just an FYI. And those who have already joined us, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat window. Place your name, from where you are joining in, some good words, maybe how's the weather, had your morning coffee, or getting ready for lunch. Speaks whatever you want. It would be really good to know about you. We'll be following the chat window as well. So I see some people have already started putting some text in the chat box. And my colleague Yaneke, you can see she's labeled as ISOC Zoom, has just, hi Yaneke. She's just posted a code of conduct, the Internet Society Code of Conduct for the participants. So we encourage you to please take good care of the code of conduct. So, you know, we all can enjoy and take benefit from this discussion. All right, so I think we can perhaps formally start. Hi, Amante. Amante has joined us as well. Amante is from Google. He will be our moderator for the second session. So, yeah, my name is Naveed. I work for Internet Society. I'm the regional director for infrastructure and connectivity. Asia Pacific is my region. I love Asia and Pacific, such a diverse and rich continent it is. We bring so many languages, so many food, so many cities, so many cultures, so much into this Asia Pacific. So I'm really excited that we are hosting this peering forum today to discuss on some peering updates from Africa. With me, we have my colleague Michuki Mwangi. I'll let him introduce himself later. And my another good colleague, Katsuyasu Toyama from Japan. These two friends would be telling us about some of the peering ecosystem updates and what's going on in Asia Pacific and in Africa. And then I have a list of my colleagues from Philippines. Bani, I have Achie, I have Joel, I have Ricson, I have Amante. And all of these folks would be telling us about what has been happening in Philippines and how the future looks into Philippines as far as the IXPs and internet peering is concerned. It's a warm welcome from Internet Society. I'll let Achie to speak about PHNOC, but just few housekeeping rule, folks. As I said earlier, this webinar is being recorded. It's been live streamed as well. And this has been made possible by our lovely colleague, Jolly McPhee from New York. You might not see him, but he's there in the window. He's labeled as Jolly. You have seen the chat. Yaneke has put the code of conduct. So be respectful for others. Please keep your microphone muted if you're not speaking. You will get a lot of opportunity to ask questions. And for that, we encourage you to use the Q&A option. So when you click on Q&A, you can post your question and we'll take your questions and then we'll answer them accordingly. You can use the chat window to introduce yourself, say hello, hi. This might be a good opportunity to make some friends as well. And we really want it to be interactive. So please feel free to ask as many questions as you want. You can even raise your hand in case you need microphone, but I'll encourage to use the Q&A window to ask any questions to our panelists. With that, I'll hand it over to my friend Achie for some welcome words from the PHNOC side.
Thanks, Naveed. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, regardless of time. I'm Achie. I'm from Globe, but for this session, I'm going to wear different hats. Now it's going to be PHNOG. So I'm current chair of PHNOG, and together with ISOC, we actually came up with a series of sessions. So this is what we call as part of the PHNOG pocket session, small ones. We initially started with manners last month, and now the peering forum. And next month, there's another session specific to manners again, together with the virtual PHNOG conference. So it's going to be a week-long conferences, and there's one specific session day for manners. So we came up with this idea to get the community going and give different perspectives in terms of peering the IX landscape. So if you notice in the panel, these are from different disciplines in the community. And basically, we want to share, we want to help, we want to get this going. And that's the main objective. So basically, that's it. Won't take time. Let's start with the session. Off to you, Naveed.
Thanks, Achie. So I see that I see some of friends from Thailand has also joined. I see Patama from BKNX. So that's really good to see. We have around 38 people who are part of it. This is not including the speakers. So I hope with the time we might hit more numbers. So without further ado, let's start with our first speaker, my colleague Michuki Mwangi from Kenya. Michuki, please do introduce yourself, and meanwhile, I'll share my screen to open your presentation. Over to you.
Thanks, Naveed. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. It's a pleasure for me to be here at PHNOG and to give you an overview of the IXP development work and the lessons we've learned from Africa. Been involved with the IXP and peering and interconnection ecosystem in Africa for quite a number of years, having helped set up the IXP in Kenya going back in 2002 and working with the IXP community in Africa since then over the years, and the internet technical community in Africa, working for a CCTLD, the .ke CCTLD, and helping set up the CCTLD Association, AFTLD. And then later in 2008, I joined the Internet Society, where we've been working on many development aspects, IXPs included, and actually part of the work that I've been involved in. So today I will just quickly go through some of the lessons we've learned from Africa, and I hope that this will sort of help inspire or inform some of the conversations that you're having in the Philippines with respect to the evolution of the peering and interconnection ecosystem. And that way, we hope that it will help grow the region into become a hub where a lot more peering takes place, and that has a lot of ripple effects to the community. So Naveed, if you could go on to the next slide and the next one, I will sort of start by providing some background of Africa in terms of when we got involved as the Internet Society with respect to the peering and interconnection ecosystem, what we've been able to see, the impact and the evolution over that period of time. We started the work in 2008. And around that time, when I joined the Internet Society, the first thing we did is we did a survey of the ecosystem to find out what was really happening. And as you can see from that map, there weren't really many internet exchange points. In fact, there were just about 17 of them in 15 countries. But in essence, there were just about 12 that were active or responsive, if I could say that. The rest were more on paper than they were actually working. There wasn't a lot of traffic exchanged across those exchange points, aggregate of about 200, about 345 MB or so across all of them. They had different models in terms of how they were established. Some were run by NRENs, some by governments, some by non-profit entities. But they also had very varied business models. The most expensive was charging about $9,000 for a port fee, which was quite expensive then. And the list was about 50 and a couple were free. And connectivity at the time was mostly through copper connections and wireless. And as you can see, at the same time, we really didn't have a lot of submarine cables, just 3 cables, SAT2, SAT3, and the safe cable. And they were quite expensive. So a lot of Africa was interconnected largely at the time through satellite connectivity. So next slide, Naveed. And this slide just sort of tries to break down how the traffic exchange across the various exchange points looked like. And you'll see that majority of the traffic was actually in South Africa, with South Africa and Egypt and Kenya sort of being the lead. And then the rest of the other countries had a very small percentage share of the 364 Mbps that we calculated then. So if you go now to the next slide, I would like to just give an overview of how did we sort of start the conversation with the community and what were the things that we really wanted to do. So the first thing we did is we tried to set a goal, and the goal, again, working with the community, having identified where the gaps were, was why do we want to have a community? Why do we want to have discussions around interconnection and peering and interconnection in the continent? And the why for that was that we wanted the continent to not just be a consumer, but also to be one that creates and brings content and contributes to that, to the traffic that is actually available. And we also wanted to make sure that the community is able to come together, have a conversation around this issue, and do so in a sustainable manner. And most importantly for us was that we needed community ownership in the process. It was not a project that we as the Internet Society or the partners that we were working with, it was not for us to lead it, but it was for the community to sort of drive it, and we would support them and make sure that that happened. So a couple of things that happened came out as things we were proposing. There was ownership on that, was the 80-20 by 2020 vision. And this vision sort of stated that by the year 2020, we want 80% of the traffic consumed in Africa to be locally accessible or available through these peering locations, and only 20% is imported from international locations by the year 2020. So we're in 2021, and I'll talk about where we are today. So did this really take place? Yes, we got a lot of ownership from the community saying, well, we think 2020 is too far. Again, remember, this was around 2010 when we started this, and they said 2020 is too far, we'll be able to accomplish this. The other conversation was around building terrestrial infrastructure to interconnect from Cape Town to Cairo. So if you look in 2012, that vision or that goal was sort of being discussed at the peering forum, and there was a panel session around from Cape Town to Cairo. Is it a possible reality or an illusion? And what you will see is that by 2018, a network, Liquid Telecom, had actually built a terrestrial fiber from Cape Town to Cairo, and they considered that the audacity of faith. And they were actually the part of the community that we were having conversations with throughout these discussions on peering and interconnection in Africa. So what does this mean? It means that bringing the stakeholders together and having conversations with them and creating visions and goals was really key in starting to have that momentum and drive towards a more interconnected continent. So if we go to the next slide, as the Internet Society, part of this really involved around just going around the continent and helping each and every country to develop its own peering and interconnection ecosystem. And we did so through various activities, whether it was technical workshop, best practice workshops, providing assistance to IXPs, be it equipment, donations, hands-on technical assistance for them to do what they need to do, and also setting up IXP meetings. And I'll talk about one which is called the African Peering and Interconnection Forum, which we created in 2010. And that basically tried to bring all practitioners or all stakeholders in the peering and interconnection ecosystem to an event. And through that event, we started to sort of have more structured conversations around evolving the ecosystem in Africa. So if you go on to the next slide, we also did get, and I would say, unusual partners to come in and support through the African Union, where there was a major project called the Axis project, which aimed to develop internet exchange points. And through that, we worked with the African Union to implement this project. We were able to train people from over 28 African countries. We did over 60 workshops in a period of about 4 years, 1,500 people trained. As a result, there were 10 new IXPs developed, support for 8 others to evolve to much larger exchange points, a lot of policy work. And so it was really a very good partnership that had a major impact across the continent. So I would also like to add, as we move on to the next slide, that a lot of this didn't happen alone. We did this with quite a number of other partners. Naveed, if you could go to the next slide. And all these partners really played an individual role in supporting the work that we did in the continent. And some of them also did their own work. And really this helped to strengthen the community component of the contributions that were coming in from various parts, both within the region and outside the region, to grow the ecosystem. And now, if we go to the next slide, we'll take a quick look at the impact that this has had. I'll start first with the community. I will keep emphasizing the community for a very important reason, that a lot of the growth and success that we will show or showcase that has happened in Africa has really happened because of pretty much the people you see in these photographs and beyond, and the logos that you see at the back of those of the photos there. They have been the collaborators and partners we've worked with over the last 10 years or so, 12 years counting, to develop the ecosystem. And for everyone who's worked with IXPs or the peering community will quickly tell you that the peering ecosystem does not grow if there is no community behind it. And the reason being that the community is the one that brings the value and it's the one that reaps the value. So if there is no community, then they have no input, and certainly then without any inputs, then you have no outputs. So going on to the next slide, I just want to quickly showcase how that timeline has looked like. So we launched AFPIF at around 2010. You can see there were just about 16 IXPs then. We got the African IXP Association established around 2012. And the Axis project also started around that time and ran, all the way to around 2018. And you can see the kind of impact that a lot of this work has had in the number of internet exchange points that we've had in the continent. So if we go on to the next slide, you'll be able to also see something which I thought is important to share with you, is the evolution in terms of the types of internet exchange points we've seen. At the very beginning, you will see that we only had non-profit ISP association owned internet exchange points. But as time went by, we started getting different models. So neutral non-profit IXPs started emerging, and they became quite a number. Then we had a few government-owned IXP, operated, not owned, but operated IXPs. And largely because, as you can see, the Axis project also did play a contributing factor on that. And then as we get to around 2010, 2011 onwards, we start seeing private for-profit IXPs also emerging. And so this is just to showcase that as the ecosystem or as the market matures, then you start getting different types of internet exchange points actually emerging. And if you go on to the next slide, the impact of this is that we have quite a diversity of IXPs across the continent. In fact, in some markets, and I'll say some cities, we have more than one exchange points and operated by two different operators with two different models. So we have private community-owned IXPs, which tend to be the legacy or the old ones that came into operations at the beginning. And then later on, we've seen new exchange points, which are operated either by data center operators, which are private, or just exchange points that are actually run by private organizations that are trying to come into the market because it's mature. So we have at least 4 countries that I know of. I could mention here: Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, and I think Ghana, that have sort of two different, some of their main cities have two different exchange points operated by two different entities using very different models. And we see that as more and more markets are maturing, that's going to happen. So as a result, we see a very progressive development happening in Africa. We are quite pleased that in just the last decade alone, we've been able to grow more than the number of exchange points by more than 50%. They are more network connected, a lot of traffic, almost a terabit of traffic in aggregate exchange across all IXPs, more of them connected using fiber compared to copper. There are more submarine cables, of course, across the continent as well. If you've seen the famous Singson graphic that shows how interconnected the region is, and there are more coming. We've had more exchange points in West Africa, and suddenly among the top 10 largest internet exchange points globally in terms of the networks connected, with over 450, is located in South Africa. That is NAP Africa. So that is really, I would say, major progress. But underpinning that, and as we go on to the next slide, Naveed, is community, and I'll keep reiterating that. So in terms of future work, there's still work to be done, and we hope to be able to do that. And some of that work will certainly focus on training the community, mobilizing the community. As you'll see, not all countries have internet exchange points. We're also going to work on continue supporting IXP infrastructure development. We are seeing a lot of demand from IXPs because of the growth in traffic. A lot of CDNs have come into the region, and so the traffic demand at IXPs is growing, so they need to upgrade the infrastructure that they have to have better switches that are able to move 10 gigs and 100 gig ports and so on. And we're seeing South Africa, Kenya, and Nigeria, where we have a couple of asks for 100 gig ports. So that's something that we expect to keep happening, and we'll continue supporting the IXPs on that front. We also have the peering community development, which is basically making sure that there's consistent engagement and discussions around peering, because one of the key challenges that we continue facing is cross-border interconnection. And while there is a lot of peering happening at the national level, the cross-border component between countries in the region is still not at the level where we would want it to be. And so to get that discussion, dialogue going on, the right policies and frameworks being put in by the policymakers and regulators, we really need to continue those conversations, and also making sure that the stakeholders are making the investments so that that can continue growing. We do have a goal, and we're tracking this, that we would like to see at least 50% of all networks across Africa visible at each of the other peering locations, which will really mean that there's a much more interconnectedness across the region. Catalyzing content growth is a component of really developing local content which is available. And this again means that we need to have a lot of local conversations. Peering forums like this help trigger the conversation about, are we bringing local content? Are we digitizing our local services? Is government connected to the exchange point? Are all government services online? Are there other non-traditional networks that are connecting to the exchange point? If not, how do we actually develop them so that they can come onto the exchange point? So those traditional offline businesses being transitioned onto online and connecting them to the exchange points, be it banking services, the financial sector, e-commerce, and so on. So the more that you are able to transition those businesses and services online, then the more you are actually able to grow the amount of traffic that's exchanged and the demand for connectivity, which sort of is key to trigger to maintaining that sustainability component and that sort of ecosystem growth that is needed. And finally, and most importantly, is measurement and studies. We really need to make sure that we have measurement and studies going on to track the progress and identify whether the things that the interventions that are being made are actually bearing fruit, and the challenges that are being seen as a result of all the work that's going in, so that we can be able to make corrective measures. So I've gone slightly past my time, but I'd like to stop there and say thank you, and happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Michuki. This was very, very useful. I mean, I really like two things from your presentation. One, when great people come together, great thing happens. You know, we usually as an internet user don't see the bigger picture, and we think that, you know, internet comes to our home and we use it. But what's happening on the background is very important to understand. It's very important to understand that when multiple stakeholders come together, they together can enable good things, which of course includes bringing a more faster, cheaper, and a better internet to the end users. And internet exchange point is one of those important internet infrastructure value chain component that does it. The second thing that I like about your presentation was the whole journey. You know, back in 2008, paying a $9,000 port fee, an aggregate traffic exchange of 364 Mbps. And look where we are now in Africa. The port fee, I'm sure, is even less than $100 or maybe perhaps $50. The traffic aggregation is more than, is in terabytes per second. So, you know, this whole story that you told, and when I see 13 years back and I see now where Africa is, it's really amazing. I'm sure our audience would have some questions in their mind, but folks, please hold on. Let's go to Japan and hear from Toyama-san about some of the Asia updates. And then once we finish that, I'll get back to you for question answers. But meanwhile, start thinking about questions. And if you want, please keep them pasted on the question and answer window. Toyama-san, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Naveed. So I'd like to share my slides. Yep. So hello, everyone. Yep. Oh, so my name is Katsuyasu Toyama, and a chairperson of the APNIC Association, also working for JPNAP, which is one of the largest internet exchange in APAC region. Okay, so thank you very much today for the good opportunity to introduce internet landscape in APAC from the IXP perspective. Okay, so I'm chair of the APNIC, so I would like to talk about an internet landscape from view of the IXP. Okay. Okay, so everyone already see this slide for many times. So I'm working for JPNAP and also working as an APNIC, and also a working group member with the Peering Asia. And for the internet exchange, maybe you know that in APAC, 247 IXPs, which are recorded in the PCH Internet Exchange directly. in the global, the 100 approximately 100 1010 sorry 1100 IXPs in the world, and 200 approximately a quarter of the internet exchanges in APAC. Okay, and also well, maybe you know that there are some IXP associations in the world in each region. Okay, so the most famous one in the UIX, and also in Africa, AFIX, which is Michuki already introduced. Yep. And in the APAC region, APIX is the association of the IXP. Okay. And APIX established in 2010, and so we are acting more than 10 years. And also one of the founders of the IX Federation. Okay. And this is the current APX members. We have 33 internet exchange points from 18 countries in APAC. Okay, now in a previous presentation, Michuki explained that, and there are some models of internet exchange. One is a non-profit organization, and the other is the commercial internet exchanges. So, for example, in this APX members, the commercial internet exchanges like in JPNAP, JPIX, or in Taiwan, so DPIX, TWIX, and in Indonesia, Jakarta IX is the commercial one, and also King's in Korea, the commercial one, and Chinese in China is also the commercial one. And okay, so Thailand IX is a commercial one. Yep. And of course, the global, not only that in one country, but in, across the countries, there are some internet exchanges, like in the BBIX, DKIX, Equinix, or Megaport. These are the commercial internet exchanges, okay? And others are almost non-profit organizations. So like this, almost in half of an APX members are commercial internet exchanges. Yes, so that is slightly different from the other regions, I think, okay? Yeah, and also I didn't mention clearly, but in the PH Open IX is also the APX members. They are one of the older members, so we are acting with them for a long time, okay? And briefly explain about the JPNAP. JPNAP is an internet exchange in Japan, and we are operating in Tokyo and Osaka. And Tokyo has a 2.32 terabit, and Osaka is 1.01 terabit. And the AS number is connected like this, okay? And recently we opened local internet exchanges in Fukuoka and Sendai. And this is the traffic graph. So last year, 2020, also increased due to the COVID, but then this year from 2021, also increasing the traffic. Okay, so let's go on to internet landscape in the APAC. Okay, so internet exchange, it's data like an connected networks or capacity or traffic that isn't shows the internet landscapes. So today I would like to talk about the growth of the internet exchanges in this region with this data. So number is ends, is numbers, and capacities. These data are from peering DB. And the traffic data, peak and average, is from the website of each IXP. Okay, So for example, the number of ASN is counted no without any duplicate. So like in the left one. And of course, and the capacity is an accumulated all the connection to the internet exchanges like this. And also the peak, getting the peak traffic is in from each website, okay? And just a disclaimer. Yeah, so the comparison the data here is from peering DB data. And of course, not every connected networks makes their record on the peering DB. So sometimes it is not accurate, not real, but it is can be used to compare data with other internet exchanges. That is in a very that is in peering DB can be used as a neutral data. Okay, and also the traffic data on the web. Sometimes they show the unrealistic peak traffic is shown. So, that is not an. Or sometimes we reduced or excluded such a data. And regarding the peering DB, my suggestion is not for these kind of study, but for peering purposes. I would suggest every AS holder put record their information on the peering DB because it's a very important database for peering with other networks. So I recommend it to make a record on the peering DB. Okay. Okay, so this is again the APX members, and let's compare with them. So from the number of the ASN point of view and the peak traffic point of view. So first, ASN ranking. So as you can see, the DKIX India, which was formerly called the Mumbai IX, and a few years ago, DKIX, which is the largest internet exchange in Europe, bought or collaborate within the Mumbai IX. Their number of the ASN connected networks is in 355. So on this record, they are at the top. And of course, in APNIC Singapore, that is also the larger internet exchange in APAC. They have 350 ASNs, AS numbers. And as you could see, the next IIX, which is in Jakarta, Indonesia, HKIX, Hong Kong, and BBIX or JPIX, JPNAP, such kind of the Tokyo is in listed at the top, and Omega IX in Sydney or IX Australia. That is in the Sydney. They are also the big internet connections. Okay, and the PH Open IX even here, and that is also gradually increasing the number. So this is also this phenomenon. So everyone, every internet exchange is increasing the number. So as you could see, this comparison. So even for the APNIC Singapore, from 248 to 350, so increasing rapid. And also other internet exchanges getting more networks the 3 years. The next is in the peak traffic ranking. So the PH Open IX is at, as far as I could see, the 70 gigabit is their peak traffic. Okay. And also the traffic, currently DKIX India in a 4 terabit, and JPNAP on HKIX at over the 2 terabit. These are the bigger internet exchanges. Okay. And comparing to the 2018, so PH Open IX is now also growing from a 45 gigabit to a 70 gigabit, and other internet exchanges also are increasing. Yeah. But please be careful about the y-axis. That is scale is not so not in the same scale. Yeah. So the rapidly the traffic is increasing, that means that in this internet in this region is increasing. And this one is in showing the scatter graph. Number of ASN is in x-axis, and the peak traffic is in y-axis. This plot can show that developing countries' internet exchanges is right in these regions, and gradually growing. They are growing to this right upper side. Okay, so I mentioned that the bigger cities like in Hong Kong, Tokyo, or Singapore will be plotted in this one, in this area. So I think these internet exchange in APAC region will gradually go into this direction and growing. Okay. Okay, so next I would like to compare with the hub cities in APAC, or especially Asian region. So maybe you think that an Asian hub is in Hong Kong and Singapore, and also would like to compare with the Tokyo and Osaka. So this circle graph shows the data of an ASN number of the ASN from 2018 to 2021. So inner circle shows the 2018 data, and outer circle shows the 2021. So as you could see, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Tokyo were increasing with an increasing rate. And Singapore is at top, 46%. And Tokyo is almost the same, 40%. But then comparing to them, so Hong Kong is a relatively slower growth about the number of the AS numbers. Okay, so AS number are connected to unique AS numbers connected to Tokyo internet exchanges in Tokyo. This is accumulated for internet exchange in Tokyo. The unique SN is in 416. That is a top number, but an almost same as in Singapore. Okay. And also we could see in Japan, not only the Tokyo, but in Osaka is rapidly increasing. So 94% of the ASN is increasing. Still the number of the 140 relatively smaller, but increasing rate is in a very rapid. This is because in Japan, the almost bigger content providers put their POPs in Tokyo, but then for the disaster recovery or redundancy in the country, the Osaka is in a place to the second POP. So they are creating, they are making the second POP in Osaka, right, very rapidly. Maybe you know that Japan has a lot of earthquakes or the disasters. Yeah, so two redundant cities, that is a very good strategy. And this is in the capacity perspective, comparing with the same, the cities. And as you can see, the Singapore's increasing ratio, the 3.39 times higher comparing to 2018. So that is the most bigger one. Okay, and Tokyo is also a 2.41, and but then the capacity wide in the 24.5 terabit capacity is increased. So from these figures within Hong Kong is also increasing, but then it's like the speed is slower than other cities, other hub cities. Yeah, I'm not sure, but then this is because, maybe because the political situation in Hong Kong may affect this one. Okay. And next one is comparison in the growing IXPs in APAC. So I picked up all the DKIX India, MIIX, and IIX, and the JKTIX and the TPIX. And also that's using the same kind of the graph. As you can see, the increasing rate of the ASN is now the IIX is very big, 14 times higher comparing to 2018. Yeah, so 3 or 4 years ago, I think Indonesian networks did not record their information on the peering DB, and they are they've known the importance of the data in the peering DB, so they started to upload their record on the peering DB. That is one of the reasons. But then Jakarta IX on the left. Yeah, this one is established in 2018 or so, and they are very quite new internet exchange in Jakarta. But they also got 111 ASNs from these years. That means an rapidly internet increase in Jakarta and Indonesia region. Okay. And also in Malaysia, yeah, the MYIX increase in the ASNs, and also in the Taipei, TPIX increases their ASN. And also you could see the capacity point of view. Such in Kuala Lumpur, MYIX increase in 3 times higher, almost 4 times. Comparing to other internet exchanges, yeah, they are also becomes a bigger real growth. Okay. Okay, and a summary. So internet in APAC is growing, as you can see, and almost IXPs in APAC is expanding its ASN capacity and actual traffic. And in the hub cities, they are also growing, but then Hong Kong looks slowing down. And Singapore, Tokyo might have taken over the connections to Hong Kong instead. Okay. And the growing IXPs like in India and in Jakarta, they are rapidly growing. I think the population or penetration of internet is its ratio is growing. So they are showing the rapid increase. But I think a more deeper study about that. Okay, so I like to briefly touch about and study IXPs in APAC. This was an ISOC published and supported by APIX. This is titled Effective IXP Strategies for Asia Pacific. And this QR code is in link to the document. So please take a look at this. And in there, these internet exchanges are picked up and interviewed. And the content is in how do they vastly or different exchange fit in their local environment, where they're headed, how do they compare with IXPs in other regions, and these kind of things are described. I think it's good to read in order to understand how IXPs grows and evolve in a country or economy. And also it will be used to arrange your strategies in your country. Okay. Thank you very much for Naveed and ISOC. Yeah. And Michuki is also pointed out the community is very important. And of course, in Asian APAC regions, in older 10 years or more, there are several peering forum has been held, but then there were no neutral, open peering forum were not there. So we created, APIX created a new peering forum in the APAC region. That is in the peering Asia. Okay, so maybe you know that peering Asia. Okay, and the peering Asia is consists of the peering meetings and conference and the social parties. Okay, and the peering Asia 1.0 was held in Japan, and there Achie made a presentation about an internet landscape in the Philippines. Thank you very much, Achie. And the second one is Hong Kong, and third one is Kuala Lumpur. Okay, so increasing the attendees and also the attended, participated, or the S increased. But unfortunately, last year we could not have an appearing Asia in person, so we had a virtual one. And this year we have been planning to have an appearing Asia in person in Thailand, but unfortunately it is postponed to 2022. Yeah, so still our situation in APAC region and global about coronavirus. So especially at Thailand, they cannot foresee the future. So we relatively postpone that appearing Asia to the next year. So the same place, but then the next year around the November timeframe, we will have an appearing Asia 4.0. Okay, but the 2021 no appearing Asia, but then we are now considering to have a virtual online peering forum in this time frame. So please stay tuned. Okay, so I also care along with time, but then thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toyama-san. Very useful presenting the landscape of IXPs. Really like the data points on the ASNs and the increase in capacity. And I was, wondering maybe perhaps we can write something around it, because this is very useful data. So perhaps I'll touch upon with you separately and see if we can write something, maybe a blog or a short case study or a report. Let's see. But this is really useful. Thank you so much, Toyama-san. Achie, I envy your hair, man. That was a classic photo. It didn't look you are presenting at the peering forum. Looks like some that movie festival or some celebrity showcase. I don't have hair on my head, so I do envy you, Achie. But thank you so much again, Toyama-san. Really useful. I hope it was equally useful to our audience as well. I'll pause for a few seconds to invite everyone to put any questions you have for Michuki regarding the state of IXPs and interconnection, internet peering in Africa, and also to Toyama-san if you are thinking to have any questions regarding what he has explained us about Asia Pacific. So feel free to start asking questions. If you want a microphone, you can raise hand as well, and we can see if we can give you microphone. Don't shy, folks. Meanwhile, I see in the chat our friend Wilson has been continuously updating some of the statistics shared by Toyama-san. So I see that there's a Facebook post that he did on a Facebook page about the statistics shared by Toyama-san. And then I totally agree what Toyama-san was explaining us regarding the COVID-19 and its impact on IXPs. We did observe that the economies, the countries where we did have an IXP, those economies have performed much better. If you want to compare how the internet resiliency, the affordability, the experience of the content and the services. So we have seen that economies who have an IXP have performed much better than those who don't have an IXP. And this reminds me of a webinar that we hosted last year with the APIX, and I'll just paste the link here in the chat. Okay, let me send it to everyone. In fact, yes, here it is, folks. So this is something which, if you are interested to know more about how IXPs performed during COVID-19, this is something we did last year, and you will get some more information and data about several IXPs in Asia Pacific. So please feel free to read whenever you have time. I don't see anyone asking questions. Looks like everyone is happy or perhaps is a little bit shy. Um, so no worries. Whenever you find time, whenever you can think about it, you're always welcome to ask us questions. So let's move on to Philippines. Thank you so much again, Toyama-san, for this very useful information. So let me invite Achie and Amante to take us to Philippines and tell us what is the current and future landscape of internet peering and interconnection in Philippines. So over to you folks.
Thanks, Naveed. We'll just get the other panelists to open their mics and video. And we'll hand this over to our moderator, Sir Mans. Talk to you, Sir Mans.
Okay, would you like to do a quick intro before we start with the questions?
Okay, so I'll do it first. Hi, I'm Achie. Day job is at Globe Telecom, so I handle the peering interconnection and strategy. Outside Globe, I am affiliated with PageTalk, current chair, and part of Internet Society Philippines. Also part of the APNIC Executive Council and other community working groups, domestic and international. Thank you.
Who wants to go next? I have a deck, just simply to, for you guys to give a quick intro about what you do in the organization, or have you done anything that you can describe quickly about peering and collaboration with within Philippines?
All right, I can go
Joel's
next.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, so I'm Joel Dabao. I'm the current president of the PCTA, or Philippine Cable and Telecommunications Association. We're currently at around 300 members strong, consisting of cable TV operators all over the Philippines. 60% of them are ISPs from our last count, up dramatically from just 30% 3 years ago, driven mostly by rural demand, helped by the drop in the price of FTTX, as coaxial cable internet technologies were price prohibitive for a very long time. This rural demand spiked further thanks to the reverse migrations during the pandemic. Some surveys saying rural Philippine fixed line subscriptions rose 200% year on year in 2020. As an association, we're always looking for ways to make it easier for our members to offer internet service, from training, education, and awareness. And taking inspiration from the PH Open IX movers and shakers, we've also established a PCTA IX, which is now live and operational in AM Carmona, which will be a little unique, and it's not just about peering, but sharing certain utilities needed by the video business. And hopefully we can have more sites as the years draw. Thanks.
Bani, do you want to go next?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bani from the Department of Science and Technology, specifically a bureau called ASTI. My day job is to basically shepherd or steward of the research network, the science network of DOST, called Preginet. Then around, I think, 16 years ago, Amante, wearing his APNIC hat, approached us as ASTI and asked us if we wanted to operate a neutral internet exchange. So we've been operating Page Open IX ever since. And actually, you can see on the participants, Sir Dennis is with us. He was the director of ASTI when President and Page Open IX started within that organization. In terms of peering, my work requires me to work a lot with peering partners that connect our network, both on the NREN and on the internet exchange. In terms of community building, I try to involve myself with anything and everything that shares the same goals of improving and expanding a neutral Philippine internet infrastructure in the Philippines. So I try to get involved with PHNOG, with ISOC, and most of the internet organizations that approaches ASCII for help or support. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. So Ricson?
Yes, good day to everyone. So allow me to introduce myself. I'm Ricson Singson. I'm the CEO and President of SQrity Consulting. It's a digital transformation, cybersecurity, and educational technology consulting firm. That's my day job, but of course, I'm wearing now the hat on the academe side, and I've served the Lasal system for close to 21 total years, and we've set up, appearing with the help of the OST, ASTI. So Bani, thank you. I'd like to publicly show our appreciation, and with that, I think we like to be a model system school for the other schools in the country to have not only peering but to support the country level peering and the IX, so that we'll be able to solidify a real neutral backbone to enrich not only our connectivity, but also the free flow of content. Aman?
Yeah, thanks, Ricson. A little bit about me. Amante here. A lot of you knows me already. I currently work for Google. I'm on the security side at the moment. It's not that I dropped my ISP and IXP kind of knowledge. As you can see, I'm still here. I'm here just to steer a conversation with our panelists because as you guys all know and you've heard about their short story, you can tell these are all doers and they do a lot of things to improve what we have in the country. Okay. All right, so moving on to our questions. I listed it down to a point where it makes it easier for you guys to refer back to it. So I know it's kind of tough to give pick up from what Michuki has done and what we've seen in the APAC side of it from Toyama-san. But in terms of readiness and operational deployment and collaborations, whether it's an ISP or IXP or cable or other type of providers within the country, from your own take, from where you are at the moment, what is your take from a Philippine steering ecosystem? And the other question would be is, as a service provider, do you think we are at a level wherein we can say a good level? And if you have that percentage level with you, can you please explain why you think that is the level at the moment? Should we start with Joel?
Sure. Yeah, throw me under the bus. That's fine. No, so far, I think the Philippines peering ecosystem has grown leaps and bounds. Really, the PHOpenIX did so much. Bringing in a lot of content from abroad to here really helped a lot of our members along their journey going in to become ISPs. And really, like as I said earlier, the PCTA couldn't have happened without them. Now, I mean, if we look everywhere, where do we think we are? It's never going to be enough. We should always have more interconnection points. We should always be trying to move traffic much more local. And in the case of the Philippines, we really should be thinking hyper local because inter-island is really difficult. Even going from Visayas or Mindanao to Metro Manila, it's not cheap. So we should really be working to be having more and more interconnection points and ways to keep the content within those areas. Percentage level, I would like to say we're 20% of the way there, which is great because 5 years ago we were probably at 2. So we've gone some ways, but there's still some long ways to go, in my opinion, at least.
All right, Achie, what about from the ISP side?
Thanks, Amante. Before actually answering that, I'd like to put further context on the question. Yeah, I mean, in Philippines and maybe in other Asian countries, the role of peering is not officially an organizational role to begin with. Like, so it's like an ad hoc function. And it's either a part of your network team, a product team, a business team, and sometimes from other teams who are available to do another role beyond their current one. So, but basically, it's a combination of everything because from the word, it's really an ecosystem. But despite that, the guys in this panel or the guys with like same-minded individuals didn't, stop with that kind of hurdle. We still try to push through. So just giving credit to those who actually who push for this one, it is good. But on the current landscape, it's always, I think, a work in progress. It never ends. So that time they think that you're okay, there's something new again to tackle. Like for this current situation, the pandemic. So it totally gave us a different perspective in terms of the build, in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of where you connect, etc., etc. But that's why it's always a work in progress. And actually, that's good because sometimes the drive for us is not to be like on the top or number one or number two. It's like there's always something to look forward to and improve, and that's, I think, a very good driver. In terms of percentage, uh, I don't actually have an exact number or anything to
Okay,
uh, give,
that's all right.
give info for that one. But say let's say it's like scaling from 1 to 10. I think it's a 9 because you can't be perfect. There's always something to improve, and that's actually what's good. And the community, this whole thing, the multi-stakeholder approach will definitely complement that. That's my take.
Okay. Yeah. So Ricson, I know you've done a lot of work in the academe side. Referring to the question, is there something you can add in to this one?
Yeah. First, I like to give a feedback on the landscape shared by on the side of Africa and Japan by
Yeah.
Toyama-san and Michuki. So I highly support that it has to be a community effort, and that is why we are all here, not just the side of the panel. No, the panel is just the front, but up the back there are a lot of people. It's a community that works on the IX and the peering efforts, and that's why I like to highlight in terms of percentage we're at equal, but of course the output is the challenge, but the community will continuously and effortlessly or effortfully support this initiative to build the PHIX. So hopefully, next time we present, we have very good ecosystem and infrastructure as part of our presentation sooner. But that's a good start, no, as a takeaway from both their presentations that we're on the right track because we're putting efforts in building this community. So that's why for me, it's a good first step. What we need to do is just follow it up. So we'll be surprised 5 years from now we'll be, reaching 90 to 100%.
Okay. Yeah, and if you've actually been watching the presentation from Toyama-san, you can tell that by 2018 and 2020, we have increased like 50% growth in our page over in IX itself. And thanks to Bani, and I think in similar, type of questions, would you be able to take us back from that journey to now where you are and see whether to think, can you provide like a certain percentage to that level?
Mans, is the question for me or Sir Ricson?
Yeah, that's for you. Because taking us back in 2018 and then referring to the same question, would you be able to say, at what percentage level you are now if you have targeted milestones before? Yeah.
Okay. Good that you mentioned that we should go back because I see on the audience Sir Wilson Chua, so I always include Sir Wilson in my slide because Sir Wilson's ISP was actually the first peer
Yeah.
over OpenIX. Of course, the first peer was President. That was the first ASN, but that doesn't count because we are an automatic member. So when I was going around, looking for somebody dumb enough to pay for a local loop, going to ASTI and tell them, peer with us, peer with the IX. And usually the question is, who's there? How many ASNs are there? Actually, you're going to be the second one. And usually the response would be, do you know how much a local loop costs in the Philippines? And I will pay for a local loop going to your switch. And there's basically nobody there. So Sir Wilson paid for that local loop from Dagupan all the way to Manila. So thank you, Sir Wilson, for believing in PH OpenIX when PH OpenIX had one member, which was President. Then in terms of the comment about communities from Michuki about the ecosystem, I can actually attest to that. I usually hear, thank you, Bani, for working on the IX. Thank you, Bani, for staying for so long. But actually, I wouldn't be able to do all of that without the help of the people that committed to move the IX agenda further. For example, Sir Ricson, he worked for 21 years at the LaSalle system. And when I went to them and presented to them about the idea of internet exchanges, he was actually convinced and he said, okay, I'll go back to the LaSalle system and pitch this idea and hopefully we get a good reception. In terms of selling the idea, that is actually difficult because in terms of internet costs within organizations, especially with schools, they more or less have that within their budget. And for you to ask them to pay for one, an APNIC membership to convert the network to BGP, and two, for another local loop to connect to something called PH OpenIX, usually you would have a hard time convincing management and finance people to allocate the funds for that, especially if it would be an annual fee. Perpetually, they would be perpetually paying for the link. And not only did Sir Ricson convince the Benilde school to peer with PH OpenIX, he was able to convince the De La Salle system of schools to connect most, if not all, of the big schools within that system to PH OpenIX. And that is more or less, expensive in terms of cost of local loop and the APNIC membership. So with LaSalle, in terms of the spirit of community, I didn't have to work hard to go to each and every LaSalle school to convince them because Sir Ricson actually helped me go around and convince their management. So more or less it was top down rather than my other experiences with other organizations wherein it was bottom up. So in terms of the peering ecosystem, if we go back 2005, 2006, when Amante approached ASTI about the idea of an internet exchange, I would say that the Philippines has developed a lot in terms of peering. I can only speak about my experience within Presinet, the network that we ran. But I remember way back 2005, 2006, Globe was our ISP. And Presinet was actually problematic in terms of funds. So we only had one internet provider. And when that went down, our ASN actually disappeared from the internet. So Globe was our ISP. And you can imagine for Presinet to route to PLDT, we had to go all the way to the US to go back. That was our route. So Sir Dennis was actually thinking, an IX would be a good idea. So it was timely that Amante came and said, I have these resources. I have people that I talk to. Would you want to set up an IX? So that was way back 2006. And fast forward 2021, Presinet has good routing to most, if not all, of the major networks in the Philippines. Usually 5, 7, 10 milliseconds going to the major providers, to the major networks. So we're very happy with the peering ecosystem. And we actually invite the other networks to peer with PH OpenIX and enjoy the latency that we get. In terms of percentage, that is actually a difficult question to quantify, but given that most, if not all of the major providers in Metro Manila, meaning the companies that own fiber all over the country, as far as I know, all of them are tiered to PH OpenIX. So I think the infrastructure is already there. It can be improved with more fiber strands and bigger 10 gig, 100 gig ports. But at least the major companies already have infrastructure going to PH OpenIX as well as to other internet exchanges that is operating in the Philippines. In terms of neutrality, hopefully the PH OpenIX was able to emphasize the idea of neutrality, and other internet exchanges would operating in Metro Manila would have that kind of culture wherein you can allow anybody with an AS number to peer with the peering fabric. Way back 2005, 2006, I was a very young network engineer, and for me, connecting to internet exchanges, that's for the big boys, that's for the big networks. We're not really, welcome there because we're such a small, science network. So right now, within PH OpenIX, you have the big companies, you have very small companies peering to the switch. In fact, 2 days ago, we peered two cable operators from Visayas and Northern Luzon, and I didn't even know their name. I mean, I don't know that such a cable operator exists. They operate in I think 2 or 3 municipalities. So they're quite small, but they were able to provision a local loop going to PH OpenIX. So I think the culture wherein peering is just for the big boys, hopefully that is dying down in the Philippines.
Yeah, I think that's a great milestone. I remember back then, we even actually went to the president's route, wherein we have to ask for a memorandum for everyone to connect. And we did say, let's forget about the big ones. Let's just get everybody in, collect everybody, even they're too small or not a huge bandwidth. As long as we have everybody in place, we're providing good service to everybody. Okay, so piggybacking on that one, now we have lots of ISPs. We have IXPs that came out. Aside from PH OpenIX, we have private for profit and some private, which is mainly to interconnect their customers. A question here is, do you think peering should be free? And in the Philippines, do you think we need more IXPs? Who wants to take it first?
Yeah, I'd like to take it first, Aman.
Okay, yeah, so Ricson, go ahead.
So first of all, we want it to be free, okay, but in reality there are costs, and these costs has to be quantified and put in numbers so that we can sustain. So if we do that that approach, we would be able to get the right strategy of funding or grants to support us if we want it to be free. So what's really important is it should not be free because we need to quantify. But if you want it to be free, you have to strategize how to seek grants and support and sponsorship. So in general, for me, it should be quantified. And if you want it to be free, it's not up to the cost, but to the strategy. And of course, if you would ask me if the Philippines need more, definitely. The more peering we have, the more web we are connected. So internet is about connection. So the more peers we have, the more we are connected, the more beautiful our traffic is going to be.
Okay. Anyone else who wants to take it in, or we'll move to the next question?
I'll no, no. I'll just build on that a little bit. I do agree also
Okay.
that to some extent that there really should be a charge for pairing because really it's sustaining the operations. Like for PCTA, as we're doing our IXs, we don't want to just have one. We want to have multiple. We want to help as many members as we can, and we simply can't do that if it's free. So that's why we charge and we support other IXs charging because this is something that needs to be replicated because I also believe that the Philippines needs more. You know, we have large populations in many islands, and in order to bring down the costs for everybody, really the only way is to have more interconnection points where we can bring the content and get more sharing and help everyone.
Sounds good.
Uh,
Yeah, go ahead.
Raman?
Achie, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, it's good that Joel and Ricson got first. It's might be difficult for an ISP to justify that question. But yeah, here's another take on that one. The term free is, I mean, should not really be used. It's normally settlement free. Sometimes, like as a whole, we forget like the total consideration. There's always a business component to this one, and that involves costs, infrastructure build, etc. Normally, the one that is settlement fee is the exchange in traffic. So if you look, take back a step back, I mean, and look at this, it's the exchange of traffic between networks. It's the agreement of two networks basically on how you exchange your traffic. So that one we don't actually intervene on how you do that, but essentially in concept, if the traffic is totally equal within you, then essentially it's already settlement fee because you exchange a similar amount of traffic. And then with that concept in mind, how this actually evolved to what is now. Historically, when you say peering between two networks, network A and network B actually share the equal amount of cost in the infrastructure built, and then you meet somewhere, you exchange there, but you handle your own costs. Taking that to the current situation, which involves internet exchange points, if you actually want to connect to an IX, you will need to go to that IX, and that already involves cost. There's normally a port charge or a cost recovery charge in terms of port, or you need to provide your own SCT or something to connect that. And then the exchange of traffic normally is the one that's being settlement free. But the provision of cost and everything, there's always some cost that you need to bear because you need to connect to that exchange. So the current situation now is it's being taken as light as this one. Peering should be free, but there are other components that's related to that one. And for next, Philippines need more. I mean, yeah, I'm okay with the comments of my colleagues. Yes, correct. We need more interconnect points. Current density now is all in Manila, so something to explore. We also need to build somewhere in the south. So do we have? It's beyond localization now. It's going to be regionalization. So that's
Yeah,
the way.
actually, it's a good segue to the next question because as you can see, most of the hubs are actually in the major cities at the moment. If any one of you, especially on the provider side, can share if we're doing any or extending our footprints to the rural areas.
I can share that on our end that especially the second class, third class cities and the municipalities, the fiber footprints are growing at a pace that we've never seen before. The take up of the ISP business among cable operators is really increasing so fast because the demand just really blew everyone's projections out of the water. So you may not think there's good internet in some areas, but you would be shocked to find 50, 100 Mbps connections there because there's fiber. So that's something we're trying to raise awareness of. That these ISPs are out there, they exist, and people should avail of their services. So a lot of small players are doing their part. In the stories that I hear from them, the big players are doing so as well, wherever they are. There's a big player nearby also trying to expand their network. It's really a mad rush. So, it's good for the people who previously weren't connected. There's now more opportunity to get connected, and we're really happy for them.
Anyone else?
Is
Achie?
it Peterman's because you mentioned service providers? Okay. Um, so jumping on from Joel's point now, but on a different perspective. There's always expansion, and where the users are, we always go there. But this is where like the community comes in as a whole when you think about it. Like if there's a certain ISP or a network provider in a specific area, then chances are you don't need to build in that area. You just need to partner, and that actually extends your footprint. Setting aside the business component in this one, that kind of concept actually will help extend coverage throughout the Philippines through partnership, collaboration with other communities. Some of the examples is like when you extend in a particular area and there's already an incumbent provider, there's either you lease something there or you do a whatever deal. But the important thing is you actually serve the requirements of the user, the specific area. And serving the requirements per area is also an endless thing because you get like 100 Mbps per now, but eventually the population blows up and then everybody shares a specific bandwidth. Then that's the next challenge you have to upgrade. That's why this never ends because you're happy with your 10 MB, but you experience 100 MB. Next time you don't want anything lower than 100 MB. So it's going to be higher and higher and higher. I think that's new human nature perspective now. we can be sad.
Okay. Right. Like I said, in the interest of time, I know there's a lot of crew questions on my list still. But before we jump into one of the questions in the chat room, there's one question that I'd like to ask in terms of the community building side of it. I know Michuki and Toyama-san has mentioned a lot of emphasis with regards to community building. So in terms of expanding our footprint in the rural areas, increasing our connectivity, peering, any one of you can take this in. In terms of knowledge and skills building to prepare our future workforce, the engineer or whoever we see who can actually progress towards this one. Do you guys have any plans or programs that you're currently doing to actually tackle this area?
Yeah, Aman, I'd like to take that. Yeah, but first, can I have a share screen also? We'll pause your screen first. We'll stop your share and then I'll do a screen share. So so just a quick background, no? So this is the number of schools that we have, no? And it's just Lasal, no? So we have so many 1,000 schools in the country, and we want them to also contribute to our efforts, no? So even the 16 schools, not all the 16 schools are able to immediately join our peering and BGP efforts, no? So but we're working on that. And of course, these are some advantages, no, for us to encourage the other schools, no, to do peering. No? So, but to answer what you have posted as what move do we have in terms of education and learning, we need to really invest in introducing peering as a job or a talent itself, no? So because in this coming new normal, there are a lot of digital skills that we are expecting, and the network engineer alone, the job of a network engineer has exploded. The telco engineer's job has exploded to a point that there's no school that talks about how to update, no? So they're just focused on ECE, and then when you graduate from ECE, you're a network engineer in general. So it's up to you whether you want to enroll or specialize in that area. But I like them to understand that there are specializations in those areas, and we have to strongly educate the public about the concept of peering, why peering is very important, so that they themselves would understand the roles of their ISP, the roles of people at the back of peering, so that it would be supported. So again, more of these forums, no? So we'll be doing more of these forums, but beyond that, we'll be expanding to schools and do forums with students and then educational institutions to encourage them that there is such a role and there are such capabilities that should be needed to build. And this is a country level capability to support the global demand. Oh, so we're not, as what Achie has said, no, we're not going back to the 10 Mbps to the lower, and we will keep growing. So it's already, we are on Web 3.0, we're moving to Web 4.0, and the demand will not end. So it has to be an education effort to help the community strengthen. So we get more members, we get more people participating, we educate more institutions to join the efforts and the exchange. So I think I'll end there.
No, this is great. And I know Achie is all about this PH Snog. That's one of the main areas why PH Snog want to do it. So I'll skip your PH Snog, Achie, if that's okay. And I heard Joel and Bani has also done something in this area. Would you guys would like to somehow share your activities or events that's along this discussion?
The question is towards rural areas.
Like,
right? Yeah.
It's the knowledge and skills building preparations for the future workforce. I know ASTI has done a lot of collaboration work.
Well, we're actually happy that Sir Achie picked up PHNOG and grew it to be such a very large size. Before, APNIC was always approached by ASTI was always approached by APNIC in terms of trainings, advocacies, and ASTI did much of the training, at least in Manila. And we're very happy that PHNOG actually grew to a site wherein there are more volunteers, and ASTI can watch at the sidelines and work on other things rather than focus a lot of its time on training. So I think right now there's more trainers, there's more visibility, and I think the overall setup is better compared to before. So thank you, Sir Achie, for that.
That's good. Joel, I heard you have something here. Extending your assistance to out of school youth. Would you like to share that?
Yeah. Thanks. So the PCTA just recently partnered with Philippine Business for Education. It's an organization run by the Makati Business Club, and we're going to be offering scholarships to out-of-school youths. They're going to be taught the updated TESDA curriculum for cable and broadband installers and troubleshooting. So hopefully we're going to have around 1,000 youth who are going to be taught, and then when they graduate, they're going to have their OJT done in our members in areas near them, and hopefully from there it results in a job. And with this, we hope that with the updated TESDA curriculum, there's going to be a steady stream of better trained workers, especially in fiber, because there's not a lot of easy knowledge about fiber lying around just anywhere. And that's where the industry is going, and we really hope that this is going to do some good.
Oh, that's good. I think we run a little bit over time, right? But there is one question here that we would like to pick up from the audience. Just a quick one. Kind of tricky question though. It's by Bombin Kadis, and he's asking about. Hold on. Page OpenIX always be free, ASTI itself should not charge anything because it's run by government. question of settlement is another question. I think it's more of a statement rather than a question, isn't it? Okay. Just quickly looking at it. Yeah, not much of a question on the chat room. So
Amante, I'm sorry
yeah, go ahead, Naveed.
Yeah, so there are 3 questions. If you click on the Q&A.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Yeah, sorry. I missed that one. I was looking at the chat room and see whether there's a question there. Okay. Does the largest PH network operators will play critical role for the improvement of the Philippines? Anyone from you guys want to take that?
Okay, I think I'm the one who's supposed to answer that. But I will not answer on the largest PH network. So I'm removing that hat. But I mean, conceptually, yes, density-wise, giving like you have more footprint, you have a great number of users, then definitely having an ample infrastructure to accommodate peering will definitely improve that from that perspective. But that doesn't actually mean that it's the only role that needs to be done. In order for this whole ecosystem to actually move, it's like everybody should be in. If let's say we do an infrastructure that is okay, but it's not going to be supported, then it will not grow as a whole. So right now, it should be like an open thing with everybody's inputs to make this work. I think at this current situation, everybody's a bit aware, knowledge-wise, on how it's supposed to be. Then I think we can move from there.
There's another question about ASN group by region. That's possibly something we can take offline and then see a reply to that later, based on a neutral IX idea. But there's the one question that we'd like to take the last. And I don't know if we have an answer to this one. More on the legal side for LGU to pay local loop. We may want to chime in, but I'm sure we're not actually, what do you call that, authorized to respond to it, because it's more on the government side, I would say. But do you guys have any opinion out of it?
Can I be really biased and say, instead of doing that, why don't you ask your local cable operator to help you?
Yeah, I guess so too. Yeah. Okay, and I guess for me, before we end this one, like I said, we've gone over time. Maybe last message to the community from the panel. And if you have any plans for future collaboration effort between the panelists itself, I think this is a good start. Going beyond here, collaborating and taking some new initiative to increase our footprints with regards to viewing and collaboration and community building would be a good thing. Do you guys have any last words that you want to say to the audience?
Do we do this as per age, ascending, or what algorithm
Okay.
you like to proceed with?
All right, we'll take Ricson then. Not because of the age, okay? It's just because you're the first one to say something.
Okay. So
Yeah, go ahead.
So once again, making our network healthy is a community effort. You cannot throw it to a government, to an ISP, to anyone. It's everyone, including you, the audience out there. The way you use the internet can contribute to the health of the overall internet of the world. So it's making the internet healthy is everybody's responsibility. That's why I highly value what we have discussed as a community effort. And this is a never-ending role and responsibility. So this is every day that you use the net. It's every day that we want to help build. That's why, on our side, Bani and the schools, rather than complaining why internet here is very expensive, rather than complaining why internet is slow, we step up our own effort doing BGP. We help improve peering, and No, that's why you take it upon yourselves to do something about the quality of internet in this world. So it's all up to you. So have a good day
Okay.
and stay safe.
Thanks, Ricson. Achie?
Oh, thanks, Ricson. It's good to be the second, so I have one thing less to say, or it's supposed to be the last. Yeah, coming from that one, yes, internet is for everyone. That's actually ISOC's go by time. But to add that, it's not just internet for everyone, it's internet by everyone, so it's everybody's road. But giving that further Philippine context in terms of feeding per se, the main goal always is to have local traffic stay local. So international content, international traffic should be a bonus if we actually bring them here, but it would be a sin to have local traffic still go out. So that's something we need to do and think we're doing improvement on that one. Let's continue.
Joel?
Yeah, thanks to ISOC and PH Now for the invitation to speak here and help to sort of give the perspective of the cable operator. I hope I was able to share our story well and encourage collaboration with us, because all of us together, as everyone's been saying, we are part of the internet, and we together are going to help make the Filipino internet better. I mean, we all deserve better, and that we should do it. We should do what we can.
Yeah, and last but not the least, Bani, I put you on the last because I highly value the work you've done for PH OpenIX, to be honest. Without Bani, we wouldn't go along this mile. So yeah, Bani.
Thank you, Amante. Actually, Michuki is right. An IXP's growth is dependent on its community. And most of the people actually on this call and others not on this Zoom session are actually instrumental in growing PH OpenIX. Sir Achie with the coordination, Sir Ricson, one of the success stories on the academic side. The CDNs, Cams, I think already left, but he was here before. Google, Facebook, they help put content over the IX. Steve Hooter, Packet Clearinghouse, NSRC, ISOC, and all the others that donated their equipment. The local loop providers that put their fiber going into ASTI to bring in more and more peers. ASTI, I think, is merely a steward that puts in, BGP commands and makes sure the switch has electricity. But it's the community that brings in the value. So thank you for supporting PH OpenIX.
Thank you very much, everyone. Back to you, Naveed.
Thank you so much, Amante and friends from Philippines. Really good. I mean, we have went 13 minutes over the time, but honestly, I think we still need to discuss too much. So
Yes.
really appreciate this collaboration. And I will, before I just close it, I would like to just ask and invite Toyama-san and Michuki if they have any final conclusion remarks from what they heard is happening in Philippines. So perhaps Michuki first, and then I'll go to Toyama-san.
Yeah, thanks, Naveed. No, this has been really amazing and interesting. I have some few takeaways that I would like to share with you. I hope I won't take too much time. I'll go through them quickly. So first, what I could see is that, and I'll use the experience we had in Africa, was that there's a need for the community to sort of develop its own vision and goals. And if you're able to do that going forward, it will sort of help bring the community together to achieve that vision. And some of the issues that I had coming up will be, there's an issue about the cost of the local loop and getting to the IX. So what would the pricing for a local loop that you like to see be? And then work with the stakeholders and community to bring that local loop to a cost that's affordable, because you want to bring all the small networks to the exchange and to be able to peer, and all the schools and all the other institutions that are not connected. PH OpenIX has only 60 members, but I believe there are many more operators in Philippines than 60 and potential networks. So how can you grow that number? What's the vision of how much traffic do you want an individual network to draw from peering? In Africa, it was 80%. If I get to the exchange point, I want to get to 80%. South Africa is already at 80. Kenya and Nigeria is 70. So what's the vision for Philippines? What percentage, if you get to the peering point, would you want to draw of all the traffic consumed? So if you develop your own local vision and goals, then you'll be able to sort of work jointly towards that objective. And the other thing is, what are the strategies then you want to use? I think from Achie's comments, there's suddenly a need for you to go to all the network operators and say, please create a role for a peering coordinator. We have some material we can share on that, because when peering coordinators start to talk to each other, things really change. And that's what we saw also happening in our region. When peering coordinators started being, roles being created, they started speaking to each other, things really started to change in some of these markets. Then you want to create partnership for IP transport. I can share an example in Kenya where we talked to one or two IP transport or local loop operators to say, hey, if someone is coming to the exchange, can you give them like, you know, the best deal in the world for them to just get to the exchange? And that was the very first time an operator said, actually, that makes sense because I'm not selling to everyone. It's just them. And if they start, if everybody, so if you think about how the exchange works for a transport operator, traffic that comes into the exchange must leave the exchange, right? So if I bring in 100 gig traffic into the exchange, that 100 gig has to leave. And for the 100 gig to leave, it means everybody has to upgrade their capacity. So the goal for you as a transport operator is to get as many people having a lot of traffic going into the exchange because everybody else has to upgrade. So there's value and economics around there that if it's cost effective for traffic to get into the exchange, everybody will have big pipes into the exchange and you benefit. So there's an opportunity for PH OpenIX to do transport deals with a couple of operators and see how that can really affect the ecosystem. And also you need to do more outreach and socials, training for your members on BGP and all that stuff, but also getting people to meet. This was an excellent start. If you can do more of this going forward, what will happen is that as you meet and talk, new ideas will come up. Why don't we try this? Can we have this? Can we have this at the IX? And the members will then start corralling together towards realizing these small strategies and visions and goals. And very soon, everybody will be talking, why are you not peering in Philippines? Because that's where everything is happening. So that's really the kind of environment you want to create. And we are here to help you and support you achieve that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great feedback, Michuki. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michuki, for sharing your wisdom. Toyama-san, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me. So I enjoyed your discussion, especially the Philippines situation. Yeah, almost the concerned issues are the same in Japan. So we are also discussing that now traffic in local, and especially the local internet exchange wanted in the rural area, but then it is very hard for them to make an internet exchange and sustainable internet exchanges. Yeah, that is because the content provider do not want to put their POP in a rural area. The little, not many subscribers and not many the traffic. And even in the local providers do not want to use sometimes because they do not have these are not cost effective. They are connecting to the Tokyo and Osaka in the Japanese case. That is more cost effective. So in the rural areas, the internet exchange is very hard. But from the Philippine perspective, the PH OpenIX is one of the represented open and neutral internet exchanges. So it will have a greater room to grow because they are gather kind of aggregate point in the Philippines. So a lot of the content provider will put in the distribution server on the POP there. So yeah, so I think I understand the mind to put in the local internet exchanges many, but then too strong like the Philippines internet. First, you grow the open PH PH Open Internet Exchange first, and then next, the local internet exchange will grow from that. Following that. So that is one point. The second point I was impressed was in education. So Ricson told about in a school or other college, and they're talking, handling that, or BCP, and talking about that. That is very important to a sustainable internet operation. Also in Japan, the younger guys do not know the internet and its operation. So it's in our concern of how to educate, how to learn what is the internet, and the core is what is the core point of the internet. So I believe that peering is the very the core of the internet, because the internet is the networking of the network. So making the community and the younger people, or educate the younger people what is an internet. So that is a very, very important point. Yeah, this point especially I learned from you, and I think that we have to in Japan more education in the younger people. That is very important, and I think that is not only the Philippines or Japan and the global. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Toyama-san. Yes, really good to see, how we are, that's where they say, it's when it's take two to tango, it's take everyone and each of us to, collaborate and work together to make sure that we have an open, globally connected, trustworthy, affordable, faster, cheaper internet. So with that, I think we are at the end. Yannicke, can you show us yourself as well, if possible, because we want to take a group photo, because before we say bye-bye. Jolly, if possible for you as well. If not, then still okay. And I'll ask Achie to take a photo, a group photo that we can keep as a nice memory of this 1 hour and 51 minutes. No, 1 hour and 32 minutes of discussion. So I'm ready. Up to you.
Okay.
Achie.
So smile and 1, 2,
1 to 1,000.
1 to 1,000. So 999, 1,000. Smile. Hold on, I'm just gonna check that. Wait. Okay, it looks good. So everybody understands here the need for redundancy. So we need to take one more. Right? No question about that. Okay, take the thumbs up. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. That's good.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the audience for being so involved. The chat was full. We had 4 questions as well. And I see that one of the ISP just said that they are interested to join the Open IX in Philippines. So that's, to me, is a great win. This is why you see we have to discuss, we have to peer, we have to collaborate. And when community collaborate, great things happen. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Yannicke. Thank you, Jolly, Toyama-san, Michuki, and all the friends in Philippines. Have a good day. If you are looking to have a dinner, please take Jollibee. I love Jollibee and I miss Jollibee. So please take an extra share for me as well if you are having Jollibee in the dinner. Bye, folks. Stay safe.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks all.
Thanks
Thanks.
and bye.
Thank you.